the gunman or the perpetrator appears behind the door and just point blank shoots him, kills him.
Get them hooked and dependent on the government. Why? Because they can control you. You become enslaved to them. All right, welcome out to God and Country. I'm Uriah Kennedy. This is Ingrid Bettridge. We originally were planning on having a guest on, but they ended up postponing. We were going to have Jason Preston on from We Are the People podcast. We're going to do a joint podcast together. He is going to be coming up here in the next couple of weeks, but had to do an interview with a senator this week, and so we're probably going to be doing it in the coming weeks. But we reached out to We Are the People and wanted to do a joint podcast, and so that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to do a prelude today on a few of the things that we are going to discuss with Jason, just to give everybody kind of a little eye into what the topics of discussions are going to be. We're not going to go...
got some other great people coming up, too.
Yeah, we're not going to go too heavy into what we're going to discuss with Jason, just because we want to save it for that specific podcast. But like Ingrid says, we got some notable people coming in. So the first week of October, we have ICE coming in. We will have the acting director of the Utah office is going to be in here. We actually have a chaperone flying in from Washington, D.C. to make sure that we do not discuss anything that we're not supposed to be discussing, which is fun.
Looking forward to that one.
Yeah, we're going to discuss a lot there. Really great guys. I've been talking to them for a long time, and just great men that are going to be coming in here and talking to us. So they're sound like they're going to be a lot of fun.
Back by popular demand, we're going to have Megan Strader again.
Megan Strader's coming in again. She's been our number one podcast. Again, everybody knows that we only started this podcast back in March. So we're almost 7 months, not quite 7 months yet. So we've gotten a lot of support, 15,000 subscribers. So yeah, we're growing quickly. But Megan Strader's by far our top podcast, so we're going to bring her back in by popular demand.
And we've had people suggest people that and put us in contact with people they'd like us to have on. So if you as a viewer have somebody, let us know.
We do have Senator Mike Lee coming in. He's coming in tentatively on the 17th of October or sometime around there, but it really depends on the budget. So if they can get the budget voted for, then they can go into recess. If Congress can go into recess, then he's definitely going to be here. But as soon as the budget's voted on anyway, they'll be going into recess. So right after the budget's voted on, they go into recess, then Mike Lee's committed to coming in on the podcast. So look forward to that coming up. We've reached out to Border Patrol in conjunction with ICE, and so we're waiting for reports back from Border Patrol. So there's a lot of things coming up. The one thing we do want to mention is we just need your support. The one thing that YouTube is doing is, as anybody knows, YouTube controls the amount of impressions that we get. So when our video pops up on your screen, that's called an impression, and YouTube regulates that. And on some of our videos, YouTube is only giving us between 20 and 60 impressions total, which is massive suppression. Anytime we talk about something that's ultra-conservative, abortion topic, Israel topic, these bigger, more controversial topics, we can see a noticeable drop in the amount of impressions that YouTube is willing to give us. And so people like yourselves are just not seeing it pop up on your screen. So we really need all of our subscribers, all 15,000 of you and more, to get up onto our page, our YouTube homepage, click like buttons, share it, and get more subscriptions out there. YouTube has just put out a new feature which is called Hype, and you can click on the video and hype it, and that actually puts it out there even more. So if you see that option come up, please hype it for us. But we really need you guys to listen to it. That's the biggest thing. The algorithm works the longer you listen, the more the impressions we get. So
We won the majority vote in the election, which lets me know that conservatives are in the majority in this country. But most of the people who are willing to make a comment are those who know very little about what's going on, spout some ridiculous information. We need more of you who are intelligent and understand, have values, and value this country and platform to let us know what you think. Tell us what you enjoy or what you agree with.
Yeah, get down in our comments section. Start making comments right alongside all those, or making negative comments. I mean,
if you like Uriah's hat, we want to know.
Yeah, if you like my hats. But the biggest controversial subject we've had by far is Israel. Every single time we put a video out on Israel, the comments shoot out the roof. There's a lot of anti-Semitism going on out there, a considerable amount, and there's a lot of misinformation. And I think a lot of people want to believe the misinformation because they don't want to take Israel's side. For some reason, everybody wants to take the terrorist side. So I would highly suggest you go onto our homepage again and watch any of our videos on Israel. Our second podcast was with Selwyn Gordon. We talk about Israel. We've had Marshall Myers on where we talk about the Holocaust, and that one did really well. I've done 2 small videos on the UN abandoning Israel, and then we just did one on Israel is not the problem, Sharia law is.
So good.
And that one has received thousands of comments, and the vast majority of them are very, very anti-Semitic. So if you guys want to support Israel, want to support what is right, definitely get on there and watch those. But again, you got to help us out by sharing our podcast, liking it, hyping it, and most importantly, please listen to our full podcast. Even if you only have to listen to 20 minutes on your way to work and 20 minutes on your way home, and you listen to the rest of it the next day, and it takes you 4 or 5 days to listen to a 2-hour, 3-hour podcast, please listen to a 2 or 3 hour podcast. The other thing that we're doing right now is we're going back through all of our videos and putting in chapters. We're working on that steadily, so if there's a specific part of a podcast you want to listen to, you can now click down into the description and click on those chapter links, and it'll take you right to that part of the podcast. So if you don't have time to listen to the whole thing and just want to listen to certain sections, you can now do that with our chapter headings that are in the description. So go below the description and listen to those things. The other big thing that's happening for our channel is we've got some new, not necessarily sponsors, but product sponsors, and those links are also in our description. So we've got Coro, which is a supplier for horse products and anything have to do with horses. We've got Durango boots, we got muck boots, and then we've got
fishing equipment.
Yeah, and then we got Rapala. Rapala's on there now, and then we've also got Crossman air rifles. And just the other day, we just picked up Coleman. And as we know, Coleman is everything camping, so all your tents, sleeping bags, lanterns, cooking material, you name it, we'll start getting information out there on Coleman. So great things happening with our channel, all thanks to you guys as the subscribers. So please like, share, subscribe, and most importantly, listen to the whole podcast. Help us get this thing out there. There's a lot of information in these podcasts. You'll look down those chapter headings and you'll see that we jump from topic to topic to topic pretty quickly. And there's a pretty considerable amount of topics we talk about. So if one specific thing doesn't interest you, jump to the next one. Whether it's, we talk about schools with a lot of the congressional people that come in. We talk about what's going on in Israel. We talk about
a lot of things that your regular ABC affiliates, NBC, CBS, aren't going to discuss. I mean, they tend to suppress things that are too conservative and sweep under the rug things that public want to know. So we'll give you the background on where we get our information from and tell you truth.
That's the whole point of this, is we want to dig down into it. Again, Jason Preston's coming on. He's got a lot of controversial stuff going up over on his channel, but we'll talk through those when he comes up here in the next couple of weeks. But today, again, we just want to kind of give a prelude of what he's going to be discussing.
As a child, I grew up shooting BB guns. I was probably shooting my sister's dolls more often than anything else, but there was nothing like growing up and learning how to shoot accurately and learning how to take care of a firearm. There is no better way of doing that as a parent than being able to teach your children good firearm safety by using a BB gun or a pellet gun. Not only that, but it provides a lot of enduring fun for yourself as an adult and something you can do father and son or father and daughter. There are great equipment out there, and we want to introduce you to Crosman. Crosman's been around for a long time. I've always had a Crosman growing up. Crosmans provide excellent accuracy and a lot of power for a BB gun. There's a lot of different styles to choose from different types of air rifles and pistols, even to fully automatic BB guns and other types of air guns. You need to go to the link in our description or click on the QR code that's coming up on your screen to be able to go to Crosman and make those BB gun purchases, those air rifle purchases. Again, it's going to supply you hours of fun and enjoyment with you and your kids, as well as you as an adult. And BBs are a lot less expensive than actual ammunition. So go to Crosman by using the link in our description or the QR code that's popping up on the screen and enjoy the accuracy, the quality of construction, and the hours of family fun that you will have with these air rifles and BB guns. Again, the link in the description, the QR code that's popping up on your screen, and then support our channel. Thank you.
One of those is very controversial about what's happening on with the daughter of President Nelson of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and she's being accused of being involved in a sex abuse case. This case stems clear back from the 80s, so considerable amount of time ago, where a group of children within a church ward within Bountiful were sexually abused. The abuse did happen. It was horrific. The stories on it are horrific. He covers everything on his podcast, what happens there.
The abuser is no longer with us, committed suicide.
The abuser committed suicide.
His daughter.
The babysitter that was part of it also committed suicide. So there's some people that are just not here anymore. And then there's the theory that's going out there is somehow that the Miles, which is Nelson's daughter, are involved, and by association, they're trying to convince everybody that President Nelson was involved, and that he's specifically trying to do a cover-up.
Not involved in abuse.
Just involved in a cover-up. So we'll address it. I mean, we have no fear on this channel to discuss any topic, and if the theory's wrong, we're going to prove it wrong or show that it's wrong, and if it's right, we're going to show it's right. We're not afraid to discuss anything, but we're not going to also not discuss it or hide from it. Probably one of the biggest concerns that people have is, are you guys going to badmouth the church or anything like that? No, that's not going to happen. We keep our channel non-denominational for certain reasons that we just want everybody to be involved. But
these things are happening.
These are tough things.
Walks of life, in every faith. I mean, there are bad actors in every facet of life.
It happens everywhere. The one thing we want to point out, and this is kind of where we're going to lead this discussion right here, is anytime there is something that is virtuous, good, good report, praiseworthy, anytime there's something good, there's always going to be someone out there that wants to knock it down, wants to destroy it, it makes them feel uncomfortable. Because they don't have those same morals and values, those same standards, it makes them feel uncomfortable, makes them feel weird, it makes them feel icky, it makes them want to reject anything that has to do with that. And that's just that negative, evil influence from the adversary, from Satan himself, that's getting in there and just pushing back on that, and people buy into that. So you're going to see that, and I'm going to kind of trying to paint a picture to everybody here. If you take this case where they're trying to associate President Nelson with this pedophile case, you take what's happening in Israel, where everybody is taking Hamas's side in this thing and saying Israel's the one out there committing genocide. They're the ones starving people when they're not, and we've proven that in these videos. You look at President Trump himself and all the good that he's come out with. Everybody wants to pick apart his tariffs, wants to pick apart what he's doing with the taking LGBTQ stuff out of the military, what he's doing with the economy. For some reason, everybody thinks he's destroying the economy with his tariffs, or he's trying to dismantle the Department of Education, or he's trying to get rid of USAID. There's a lot of things that are really, really good that he's doing, but yet people want to paint a negative light on that and show that he's evil.
Or try to find out where he's imperfect.
Yeah. You take Christianity as a whole. There's a huge thing going on right now throughout the world and here in the United States where Christianity's under attack. For some reason, everybody wants to promote socialism more, wants to promote Sharia law more, wants to promote atheism more, and Christianity's under attack. We've seen the shootings just recently within that Catholic school where 2 young kids just got shot and killed. It wasn't the first shooting on Christians. There's a lot going on in Africa right now where Christians are being slaughtered, and there's a lot going on in the Middle East with Christians being slaughtered. But then around social media, there's a lot of attack against Christianity, period. So what ends up happening is anytime there is something good, people want to hold that to a perfect standard. They say, well, if you stand up for these values, whether you're a Christian, whether you're President Nelson, whether you're Israel, whether you're President Trump, anything, if you stand up for these values, we're going to sit back and we're going to wait for you to not follow one of your own values or mess up on one of your own values. And then we're going to attack that and just pick it apart. Just pick it apart. See, you're evil. See, you're wrong. You don't hold up to these values. And what we realize is nobody's perfect. There's not a single human being on this planet that's perfect.
It's true.
There's not a government agency that's perfect. There's not a president, Netanyahu's not perfect. President Trump's not perfect. President Nelson's not perfect. I'm not perfect. You're not perfect. No one's perfect. So we're not looking for perfection. We're not looking for perfect leaders. We're not looking for flawless leaders.
I love when people impose what they think that you do by saying, she thinks, he thinks. You don't know what somebody else thinks, and you're imposing what you must profess. I've been told before, she thinks she's so perfect because she's a Christian. I don't think I'm perfect in any way. That's why I'm Christian.
That's why
I'm not perfect. But I think we need to be a people of better. We just need to be better. Quit trying to find fault with people. You're going to find fault with people if that's what you're looking for. What's that confirmation bias? If you go out looking for, you've already decided that Trump is evil. You don't want to be open to what's going on or look at how it's benefiting. You won't even watch the majority of our podcasts or a podcast that's showing all the good things that are happening because you don't want to be proven wrong, or you don't want to have to maybe feel like something he did was good. Even if you thought he was the most evil person on the planet, would you be willing to stand up and agree if something was good? If we told you he cured cancer, would you agree that that was a good thing, or no, because he did it? And I think we need to take a hard look at ourselves and quit trying to be popular with, your music industry or the actors or social media. We need to start thinking for ourselves. There's a diminishing quality in our universities where we're not thinking for ourselves. The universities are just indoctrinating the kids.
They're hooked on a narrative.
Yeah, and if you think differently, you're shamed. Or there was even a viral video going around of a kid who was being shamed in high school because I think he's probably wearing a Trump shirt or something, but they were ridiculing him in the classroom, and another student videoed it just to show it's happening. And I think there are more good people in the world than there are not. I stand by that. But we're not as vocal as those who are out to rip apart and destroy.
No, not at all. And we're so polarized right now. I mean, if you look at the difference between Christian, non-Christian, Jew, non-Jew, or just simply between Republican and Democrat, we're so polarized that we've become the extremists on both sides. And there's nobody in the middle anymore. Everybody wants to believe a certain narrative. And if you hear a news story and it doesn't fit the narrative you already have in your mind, or the news organization already has in their mind, they won't cover it. They won't follow it. They won't believe it. Israel's a huge thing of that. I mean, we have proven over and over again that the aid, the food is getting into Gaza, and Hamas is stealing it, selling it to the highest bidder, purposely putting missiles inside of hospitals and schools because they know they're going to get bombed. They want the collateral damage. And then Israel gets blamed for starving, murdering, committing genocide, and none of that is true. We've shown that with all the deaths that's happened in Israel, there may be 40, 50,000 civilians that have died. But then you look at Syria, Yemen, all these other countries, and millions are dying because of Muslim upon Muslim violence. Yeah, and if it's Muslim upon Muslim violence, nobody covers it. No one cares. They only care when it's Jewish on Muslim violence because that meets the narrative.
You haven't seen those we have video proof, and if you haven't seen it, comment, and we can direct you to those little spots there. But there's video proof. If you are really open-minded to wanting to know what's true, ask, look.
But that's the problem is they're not open-minded. You've already made a decision in your mind. You already have a narrative, and so you're only going to follow what meets that narrative, what follows that narrative. You're not going to believe anything else. You're going to discredit everything else. You're going to just consider.
I hope that people can change.
You're going to consider everything else. You're going to consider everything else as conspiracy theory. Everything else is wrong. Everything else is evil. When you look at crime here in the United States, you'll see that if it is a white cop killing a black person, it's everywhere in the news. Everywhere. Everybody covers it. But yet we have a story that just came out recently where 3 black cops literally beat to death a black kid. And the court just let them off. Just let them off for it. And there's video evidence of showing them beat him, and they were pronounced unguilty. And we all know, everybody knows they were guilty. They killed that kid. But if it was 3 white cops, they would probably have the book thrown at them.
I try to be open-minded. I'm definitely a conservative. I am a member of the Republican Party, but I also know there's bad actors within our own party. I know that our party's not perfect. I know that every resolution we come up with is not perfect.
Yeah.
But we work at it. We keep trying. We keep correcting. We listen. We're open. I'm not going to say that everybody is a good person just because they're a conservative or they're a Republican. Same way as are there bad actors of Israeli and Jewish faith? Absolutely.
They're not perfect. Stop looking at the narrative. Stop trying to prove a narrative and just try to find the truth. But yet we know that there's a lot of people out there that doesn't matter what we say or anybody else say, that's just what they're going to do. They're going to believe the narrative. They're going to follow the narrative because it meets what they want to believe inside. They want to believe that Israel's the evil. They want to believe that Trump is evil. They want to believe that Christianity is evil. And there doesn't matter what you say or do, they're not going to believe otherwise. But there are some of you out there that maybe you are sitting on the fence. And if you would just look at these things from a perspective where I'm not going to meet a narrative, I don't care about what the narrative is, let's just follow this and see where it goes, you're going to start seeing some truth there. Some truth that's probably going to convince you that many of us that are in these conservative talk shows, many of us that are Trump supporters or the MAGA people or heavy Christian, Bible-beating Christians, you're probably right. I mean, we're probably right. And it's not because we're the Bible beaters or the MAGA supporters. It's just because we have certain morals and values, and those align with our beliefs first. We're not looking at the news report. We're not looking at the story, looking at it from a bias. We're saying, I believe in a right and wrong. There's a definitive difference between right and wrong, and some things meet it, some things don't, plain and simple. Abortion is evil, and no matter what you're going to say to me, I'm not going to say that that's a woman's choice to kill a baby. It's just wrong. It's evil. It doesn't matter what the situation is. It's evil. 2 wrongs don't meet a right. One thing I learned very, very young is kind of 4 principles that I live by. One is most everybody has the absolute freedom to choose. You have the freedom to choose. Even if you're in slavery, you still have the freedom to think for yourself and make choices within whatever type of slavery you're in. Or if you're in a communist government, the government's taken away. If you're in China and they're taking away all your rights, or if you're in a Sharia country and you're forced to wear a burqa, or you're a woman that doesn't have any rights. So there's still certain freedoms within those limitations that you still have some freedoms. Your freedom of thought, even if that's all it boils down to, is just your freedom of thought. The second principle is you do not have the right to take freedoms from anybody else. They have the freedom to do whatever it is that they want to do based on that freedom. So you don't have the right to deceive people, lie to people, to force them to do certain things or act a certain way. Third thing is you have to be absolutely responsible for your decisions. If you chose to have sex without a condom and you got pregnant, guess what? You made the choice. The choice doesn't come after that when all of a sudden you don't want the kid anymore, you want to have an abortion. You made the choice before that, right? Choice was made long before that. So you have to be absolutely responsible for your choices when you make those choices. And the fourth principle is probably the hardest thing for people to really swallow, and that is life isn't fair.
That's true.
Life isn't fair. Because everybody's free to make certain choices, everybody else's choices are going to affect you at some point in life. And it's not right for you to try to figure out a way to make two wrongs make a right. Just because something was not fair to you doesn't mean you go and be unfair back or unfair to somebody else. That's what Christ taught us. He said, turn the other cheek. It's not get bulldozed. It's not get run over. You're not a doormat. But at the same time, you're not trying to have two wrongs be equal a right. And if people just realize those principles, that you're free, you have to allow other people to be free. You do have to be responsible for your own decisions. And bad things do happen to good people all the time. Life isn't fair. It's not always God's fault. It's not always Trump's fault. It's not always the government's fault. It's not always somebody else's fault. Something happened to you. People make choices, and people's choices infringe on other people's freedoms.
Yeah.
On other people's rights all the time. And that's what's happening here is when you're talking about a pedophile, pedophiles should not live. I mean, I would be the first person to line up and put the millstone around their neck and drown them in the depths of the sea like the Bible says. Because I have that type of anger when I hear about bad things happen to kids. So when I hear about pedophiles, when I hear about child sex trafficking, it makes me very, very angry and want to go out and fight that. I watched the movie that was put out by Angel Studios, the movie Sound of Freedom with Jim Caviezel. That story is, I mean, if that doesn't get your hair turned up and get you angry, I mean, what else would? But that's happening all over the place. But people want to blame Christianity. They want to blame the government for doing that. They want to blame, the most important people want to blame God. Say, why does God allow this to happen? The Holocaust happened. 6 million Jews died. Well, if God existed, why did he allow that to happen?
Because he believes in our freedom.
Bad things happen to good people. It's just the way life is. And you've got to work within what's given you. Know that everything's going to be recompensed after this life. And that's just the way life is. And so when you hear these evil stories, you have to understand, well, it's going to be made up for. I mean, that's why Christ came, and that's why most of us who are Christians believe in Christ and believe that he's going to kind of rectify all this stuff. But at the same time, I'm not trying to look for an agenda here on earth. I'm not trying to look for a specific revenge right here.
Right.
And I think that's a lot of what's happening.
People have so many unfair things come to them, but they use it for their good, or they use it to rise above and become stronger and realize they hated what they went through, but they are who they are now because of what they went through. I know that mistakes I've made and part of my past life, I wouldn't want to redo it again, but I am who I am. I am a better person now because of it. I am a better person for bad things that happened to me.
Yeah, I would completely agree. I mean, we're not the same people we were 20 years after that. I mean, one of the things that he shows on his podcast, on Preston's podcast, is they try to associate President Nelson with Skull and Bones, and Skull and Bones, and is the entire organization is not this conspiracy or this dark stuff. I mean, there's certain factions within it that's happened over the years that was pretty dark, but that's not the entire organization either. There's a lot of other parts of the organization that are actually
There are
pretty
a lot of
decent.
things in a lot of sororities that I don't agree with and I don't approve of, but I believe in people's right to choose.
Skull and Bones itself was an organization to put together a lot of powerful people. And where there's power, where there's money, there's always going to be a certain semblance of corruption. But again, not everything within the organization is evil and corrupt. Not everything within almost all organizations is evil and corrupt. We look at the Hitler and the German army. There was a lot of good Germans out there that were fighting against the Allied forces. I know a lot of them that were good people, and they were forced into military combat and had to get out there, and they were killing probably good people. And it happens. You can't tear something apart just because you see a little bit of evil. You've got to be able to look past the narrative, look past what people want you to think, what people want you to believe, and try to find truths and stuff. And that has to do with anything we're talking about here. I mean, we're going to talk to Jason about this, about Skull and Bones, and about President Nelson, and about the pedophilia that happened there. But we've got plenty of videos out on Israel where people are just picking Israel apart. We got Trump, ever since he came down that escalator, started running for office, people just started picking him apart. When he was probably one of the most popular people out there before he decided to run for office. I mean, what he did on The Apprentice, what he did on all these other things and his businesses, everybody loved him. I mean, you got Hillary with him, you got Oprah with him, you got all these other popular celebrities were with him long before he ran, and all of a sudden he runs. All of a sudden now he's the evil man. Why? Because all of a sudden now he has a moral conviction. He has values that he's going to stand up for, and he's not going to bend. And that's what turns people off. The second you have a set of standards, set of morals and values, there's always going to be people out there who want to tear it down. Just want to see the world burn. And I go back to they want to hold you to this perfect line that if you have this moral, if you have this value, and you're not adhering to it perfectly, you're evil. I'm just going to pick you apart piece by piece and throw you in the garbage. And it happens in the news media, happens on social media, everywhere. It happens in the comments section.
I think there's just an ignorant part of society, and that word has become such a negative word, but when you don't know about a subject, it's an ignorance too. That they think because they don't share my beliefs or my way of life, that somehow they've automatically think I look down on them or that I feel a certain way about them. I don't. And you've imposed that on me, and then you attack me because you've already pre-decided who I am and what I think of you. And I am friends with people of all facets of life and there's going to be people who even share my same beliefs who there's parts of their lives I don't agree with. Doesn't mean I love you any less.
Yeah, my own kids, or certain things my kids do that I don't agree with, but doesn't mean I love them any less.
Yeah. And you need to be comfortable with yourself. And if you're not comfortable with yourself, don't impose that discomfort on other people and how they're looking at you. If you're being the best you that you think you are, and that happens to be with doing things that I wouldn't do in my life, then you have to be okay with you. But that doesn't mean you trash me because I don't believe what you believe. You know, most conservatives just want to live their own lives, and I think that's why a lot of them aren't vocal.
That's why they call them the silent majority, because they don't care.
Yeah, I just want to live my life and do my job. And I was even talking to my dentist the other day, and he's like, I didn't know you had a podcast. Everybody's telling me you have this podcast. And he said, but I don't, I just have, it's gotten so ugly that he just shies away, does his family's home and wants to be left alone. Meanwhile, these other people who are uncomfortable, because I feel like the Spirit makes you uncomfortable, because I don't think God ever stops reaching out to anybody. We are all his children, no matter what faith you are. And I don't think he ever stops reaching out to you. So I think if you're doing things that are detrimental to your life or causing a wedge between you and him, your Father in heaven, he's always going to be reaching out for you. And that causes this discomfort in you. And so then you want to lash out at me. I comment the other day about, like, I have friends and relatives who are gay, and I don't love them any less. And I had somebody say, well, you guys just, you that we're bashing you, or somehow Trump doesn't let you have your rights. What right do you not have?
That's a great point. I see a lot of that. No, he's taking our rights away.
Because I believe in you having your right.
He's a dictator.
Yeah. Let me know what right, because as somebody that I don't have to agree with everything Trump does. I mean, I believe.
Yeah, but where's he
an
being a
imperfect
dictator
person.
at?
Yeah,
Just because he's kicking illegal aliens out, all of a sudden he's a dictator?
What right do you not have exactly?
Yeah.
And what
He's initiated tariffs.
does a legal alien or a legal immigrant not have? Let us know, because you're spouting that off, but then you don't have an answer to it. And I believe in your right to choose that lifestyle if that's what you want to do. I can love you for the fact that you're just a child of God.
It's a great point that you make. There's a lot of people out there that just because I'm living my values and I'm in your vicinity doesn't mean I'm imposing my values on you. I'm just living my life. I'm just living my life. And yet people feel uncomfortable around me because I do have those morals and values. And all of a sudden now they want to pick me apart and says, well, you're just holier than thou. You just want to impose these things on me. And I haven't said a word. I haven't said a thing. I didn't say you had to or not have to.
And have you ever felt holier than thou?
No.
I'd love to have
half these people I've never even noticed, not even noticed around. I mean, I've had people come up to me and say, because I don't cuss. You'll never see a cuss word coming out. You'll never see a cuss word coming out of my mouth. I see hell and damn all the time, but I don't see anything.
I didn't say that. My boss teases me because he says, you didn't grow up on the farm like I did.
No, I just won't say anything. And I've been around people in business where they're literally uncomfortable around me because I don't talk like they do. And I've had that people come up and say, well, why do you think you're so good? I'm like, I didn't say a word, not a word, just because you feel uncomfortable because I'm holding.
Worrying about where I am imperfect and the things that I have to work on. That just happens.
Yeah, I'm just worried about me.
It's never been hard for me to not swear.
Yeah,
I have my issues in other places.
Yeah, I got plenty of weaknesses other places. I got my own. Everybody has a demon. Everybody's got a demon, and you're always going to have weaknesses somewhere. So again, no one's perfect.
Me in the comments about my white privilege. I don't understand. I've never understood color of skin having to do anything with race, so I don't get that concept. But I am a Chilean-born American. My blood is 100% Chilean, and I was born in the United States. So I am a citizen of the United States. I consider myself an American. I've never even been to Chile, but I don't know what this white privilege thing is that I have. So quit saying it in the comments.
I get a lot of people that say that, well, racism, like everybody's racist. I'm like, most people, I don't even think care about your skin color anymore. No one even cares anymore. It's not even a thing that even comes up in conversation. I don't even know. Most people don't even look at it. I don't look at it. I don't even see it.
I'm against bad behavior.
I'm against bad behavior, right? I'm against bad behavior.
Even on the news, when they bring up stuff in their one this morning where there's 3, I thought they were girls, but I didn't have my reading glasses on. But apparently 3 teenage boys in there in a Ross or some sort of store, and they've stolen all the stuff that's in the carts, and the employees have locked the doors and won't let them out. So they're there threatening and hitting the cashier.
I saw that one.
Did you?
They're like 12, 13, they're young kids.
They're young. This is awful. And people are like, so black children, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, forget the fact that they're black children. Where are the parents?
Where are the parents?
Yeah, I don't care that I don't think that that's the focus, is that the fact that they were black. What does it have to do
I saw
with
one of the videos where the mom was actually there helping them.
Oh, I did see that with a daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was going out the store, and they were just calm, just like kept pulling away from one.
Let me out. Let me out. I'm just stealing this stuff whether you like it or not.
I'm against that behavior.
It's behavior. It's a lot of culture. No one cares about skin color anymore. So stop mentioning it. The only reason why the left uses skin color or race at all or sexual orientation was control, right? They think they can control that population. They think if they can get you into that victim mentality, that victimhood, where now I've, as a political leader, got to step in and I've got to save the day. I've got to fix the problem. That gives me power as the political leader. You're going to vote me in. You're going to give me more power. I'm going to ask for more power, because the only way to fix a problem is if you give me more power and the government starts taking away freedoms. Because if I take away the freedoms, then I can fix the racist problem. Then I can fix the economic deficiencies. I can put socialism in. I can take all this money from all these rich people. Rich people shouldn't have billions of dollars, and if they're not handing it out and distributing it around, right? And the more you feel victimized because of your skin color, because of your sexual orientation, because of your economic situation, the more you're going to vote for people that put out a narrative. And the more you believe that narrative, the more you're going to have problems like we're just discussing, and the more you're going to eliminate your own freedoms. And all of a sudden now is the exact problem we're talking about is all you believe is a narrative, all you believe is a social construct that's not real, and it doesn't matter what we say or any other podcast says or what the news says or any ecclesiastical leader says. It doesn't matter what it is. All you believe is that social narrative that's been put out there, and if it doesn't meet that narrative, you set it aside.
One of the things I learned growing up as a kid, and particularly in Scouts, was to be prepared. And particularly when it comes to my feet. You do not want to be out in a situation where your feet are incredibly uncomfortable and makes you absolutely miserable, makes the rest of the day absolutely miserable. So you have to go out there in the right equipment, whether that's hiking in the mountains, whether that's fishing on the stream, it's working out in your garden or out in the yard, or it's going out on the town or to the nearest rodeo in a nice pair of boots. You have to go out prepared so you look good, feel good, and most importantly, it is comfortable. Because again, there's nothing like being miserable walking around all day long. We want to introduce you to 3 different companies that are supporting this channel. We have Durango Boots, which provides the best Western wear and boots that money can buy. So you'll have the look, the feel that you want. There's also Rocky Boots for that great mountain wear, that hiking wear, and just getting out into nature and being prepared for what you're confronting. And then there's Mucky Boots or Muck Boots, which will provide the perfect waterproofing that you need for fishing, hunting, and again, getting out in the yard and working in the mud. These are great companies that supply a great pair of boots for you for any need, for any occasion. So again, go to the link in our description or click on the QR code that's coming up on your screen for any of these great sites, whether it's Western wear, whether it's the outdoor wear and getting up into the hills and the mountains, or whether it's muck wear that you need to be able to work around the garden or go fishing or hunting and not walk around with wet feet. These are great products at great prices that will keep you perfectly comfortable all day at the same time that you're looking good. So trust these products, whether it's Durango, whether it's Muck Boots, or whether it's Rocky Mountain Boots or Rocky Boots, and go to those sites using the link in our description or QR code that's popping up on your screen. Again, the link in the description or QR code that's popping up on your screen, and support our channel.
To be a victim when you become victimized. Yeah. Say you're a victim of abuse, but staying in that mindset takes away your power.
Yeah, takes away your freedom.
It really does. And overcoming it is like you become free. When you overcome that, you now take back your power. You refuse to, and you see it. You see victims are like, I'm not a victim, I'm a survivor. Yeah. And that's a better mindset to have, because bad things, and really bad things. And you may think that you're the only one that really awful things happen to you and that everybody else has just small things, but everybody has things happening to them, and it's an opportunity really to turn towards your Savior, whoever that may be, whoever your God is. Turn to your higher power for help empowers you.
We talked about this with Burgess Owens, how the left is purposely trying to essentially enslave the minorities. They did that to the black community, and how they enslave you is through social assistance and social programs where they get you hooked on it, and we literally refer to it as an addiction. You're now addicted to these handouts, and it takes generations to get off of them. Now the left is trying to purposely do that to the illegal migrant population, get them into this victimization, get them hooked and dependent on the government. Why? Because they can control you. You become enslaved to them. You become dependent on them. And now it's everything you can do to pull yourself up by your own bootstraps and get yourself out. It takes mental changes, it takes work ethic, it takes all these other things that it's difficult to learn generation after generation when you've been in that hole for so long. And what I mean by that is when you have a parent or a grandparent that's been on social assistance for so long, they don't teach the same work ethic or the same standards to their kids. And their kids grow up thinking that, well, that's just the way it is. The whites have privilege, we don't. We're the bottom feeders. We can't get ourselves above water. We don't have the capacity to lift ourselves up. We have to depend on the government. We can't go out and work because if we go out and work, then we get off of our food stamps, and then we don't make enough money to survive and eat. So it's either I stay underneath this certain income level, or I got to be way up here. I can't be here in the middle because I can't survive in the middle. And people get into that mentality where I'm not supposed to pick myself up. I can't pick myself up. And that's exactly what the left wants to have happen, because that enslaves you, that gets you dependent on the government. And that generation grows up with that, and they have kids, and they teach their kids the same thing, and they teach their kids, and all of a sudden, now you have all this juvenile delinquency out in the streets because they don't believe in themselves. There's no self-esteem there. There's no belief that they can do anything better, be anything better. There's no American dream anymore. They don't believe that they can go to college. They don't believe they can get a higher education. They don't believe they can go get a better job. It's not possible for me to do that. I can't. And that victim mentality, we see that on many interviews. There's a lot of interviews coming out where people are being interviewed on campus, and
we're pushing that narrative in elementary school.
Yeah, where that victimization.
Kids, empowering them to learn how to work, how to learn, how to study, and that there's somebody.
Yep. And literally generation after generation, they honestly don't believe they can. And that it's sad. It's very sad that you honestly believe that you can't pick yourselves up. And that's what I mean by you become subservient. And it takes generations, because someone eventually has to stand up and pick themselves up and get themselves out of that mentality. And who knows how you can do that.
People leave the countries that they love and the cultures that they love to come here, because although they love the culture and where they live, they want to come here because of the American dream that we don't have limitations here.
And they actually come over knowing that and believing that, and they do pick themselves up. Legal or illegal, a lot of them do pick themselves up, and they become very, very successful.
The ones that do it right, how they sacrifice, how they put together. I think I've mentioned before, I observed as a little girl in Miami, the Cuban families, how they would live like 2 or 3 generations in one home, and everybody's working and pulling into it, living in a nicer house than I'm living in with my single mom who's working. And they put out, and this is probably a typecasting, but it just seemed like they only wanted their kids to be doctors or lawyers. They wanted them to be super successful, but they pull together money, and everybody's becoming like a lawyer, doctor, nurse. And then those people are moving out, starting their family, but they keep paying.
And they pay back in.
Yeah. And just the families.
They pulled themselves out.
Worked.
They all worked and pulled themselves up. But they come into this country believing that this is the American dream, right? But yet we have many in our own population, our own citizens, that are 3 generations into subservience to the government, that they don't have that belief. They don't even think it's even possible. And they buy into the narrative that it's white privilege is out there, that we can't pull ourselves up, or I'm always going to be subservient to the government. And it's where you've bought hook, line, and sinker into that narrative. And it's a debilitating, evil narrative. And it's there where you become subservient, but the narrative continues, because they want you as a voter, they want you subservient forever so that they can stay in office, but then they want to influence you and change you on all the other social constructs that they're putting out there. So that Christians become evil, that Trump becomes evil, that Israel becomes evil, because you're already subservient to them and believing them that you can't do this stuff. Then it's easier for you to believe all the other narratives that they put out.
The majority of people who live in poverty in the U.S. are our level of poverty is so far above the level of poverty I'm sure you're going to, in general. I remember in the
Daniel
Ozonian's episode, those families, how humble and happy they were to have what
they have nothing.
They've got mold-ridden walls and no running water, and they're happy and kind and sweet, grateful because to them, they're like, I've got my family. I have my, just a humble, happier people.
The poor in the projects in Philadelphia or New York have nicer accommodations than a lot of them have down in Mexico than in that Daniel Zunian
and those people
podcast we did.
They are handcuffed in some other countries and can't pull themselves out.
Yeah, especially Mexico's a narco state. I mean, they're completely controlled by the cartels at this point, even the president. So it's really difficult. But yet they have that positive attitude that I can pick themselves up. And Daniel Zunian goes down in there, builds them a house, gives them just a little bit of confidence, and all of a sudden you see that they did pick themselves up. They started one of them started a hair salon, another one started a couple other businesses, and they are picking themselves up out of these poor circumstances just because they had someplace to call home. Not even much at all. So you look at our own populations, what is it going to take to not believe the narrative and pull yourselves up and actually look at things in a true perspective and stop believing that Israel's the one that's causing the genocide, they're the one starving people out, that the Christians are evil, that we're, what do they call us now, nationalist Christians, is a new term going out there, that we're the ones controlling the government, controlling the state, and we're the ones that's suppressing everybody else.
This country was founded on faith.
Yeah, Christian.
Actually Christian faith.
Yeah. That Trump is the suppressor, and that he's a terrorist himself, that he's a dictator.
Doing hard things, whether it's hard work or something that's out of your comfort zone. I've always struggled with anxiety and depression. I'm sure it's a chemical imbalance, but when I don't want to do something and I push myself to do something I'm not comfortable with or not up to, man, the endorphins you feel and the empowerment you feel
get that.
Once you do that, like, that's something.
That's something. You see that a lot when you have kids that go to college and they come out and say, I was the first in 4 generations to actually go to college, and I pulled myself up. You see the pride in their eyes, the work ethic that they've developed, the desire to push forward and do more, and it's because of the earning process they went through, not just because they graduated. It's the process that they went through, and that's the school of hard knocks, and the school of hard knocks teaches us to be grateful for what we have, to be appreciative for what we have, give us work ethic, to give us a drive, to give us values and virtues that we've learned along the way. A lot of people will say that when I'm in my 20s, I was liberal and leftist, but then I got older, I got married, I had kids, I started paying bills, and all of a sudden I went conservative. Why? Because I learned, that's what they're talking about paying bills. That's why they vote that direction.
How many people have left the Democratic Party because they may not even agree with all the ideals on the Republican platform, but they don't feel at home in the Democratic Party anymore because it's not even the ideals of the Democratic Party. I mean, we are not a democracy, but that's what Democrats want it to be, and what it's become isn't even a democracy anymore. It's socialism, and there's a house on our street in my neighborhood where she says, defend democracy. And gosh, I just want to send her a letter feeling, we're not a democracy.
No.
Democracy lead to fascism and socialism. It doesn't work.
No, it's mob rule. And people don't understand what mob rule even means. It's mob rule. Yeah. Well, moving on from this, we wanted to get into a couple other topics that we're going to be getting into as well. Here in Utah, we just had 2 officers that were gunned down up in Tremonton. We actually discussed this in the podcast we did last week with Erica in Warrior Risen Ranch, and they're actually trying to get these officers, their families anyway, invited up to the ranch and see if they can help those widows. But you kind of have this thing down pat more than I do. So kind of walk through what happened.
A a home that's got some history of domestic violence. It's unclear to me in different articles they refer to the wife or they refer to the partner, but they've been called out. Law enforcement's familiar with the address, have been called out, and they're getting multiple hang-up calls to 911. So they go out. It's not clear to me why they're going up to the door one at a time, but I know one officer goes up to the door, and from what we understand, she's the one that answers the door. They're talking to her. The gunman or the perpetrator appears behind the door and just point blank shoots him, kills him. I know that from the back at the station, they quit receiving, when they arrived, they quit receiving radio answers from them. Then the other guy shortly behind that racing up also gets shot and killed. And then from there, I guess we have a
third officer shows up.
With the dog.
With the dog, female officer. I believe it was a female officer. I'm pretty sure it was.
We arrived at the same time, or why are we going up in consecutive?
I don't know. It might have arrived at the same time. I think she kind of hung back to see if they were going to need the dog. She was probably just hanging back with the dog and sees the two officers get shot, sends the dog to get the perpetrator because she's not going to go up there and get shot.
I think the dog I was going to make it from what I've heard, and so is she.
Yeah, shoots the dog, shoots her, but wounds her only, and so both of them are going to survive, but you have two officers just within seconds of arriving get got down.
They are going to come out, even though they don't have a call to save this woman. And where are we at in a society?
Yeah, I mean,
this is happening over, like, some people, I mean, maybe if you live in an inner city, you're like, this is nothing, this happens all the time.
If you live in Chicago, where 50 people were shot this last weekend and 8 or 9 of them died.
You go back to this last administration where we were trying to say, oh, all cops are bad and, all cops are evil. Shut down defund the police.
Well, it's another thing that they're saying right now with Trump, that he's a dictator because he took over Washington, D.C., and yet crime's gone down 45%.
Yeah, you're thinking, quit trying to protect the people who want to commit crimes. How about the citizens that need to be protected? Why don't you think about them?
Yes, because it's the whole point of this podcast is you want the narrative more than you want the truth. You want to believe that Trump is evil more than you want to believe that he's doing the right thing in Washington, D.C. It's where you want the narrative more than you want the truth. You hate him more than you want to help others.
Pretend your last president did this. Do you feel better about it?
They would feel better.
Would it be okay?
Would it be okay? It would have been okay. Look what's happened in Chicago. So Trump is now threatening to do the same thing he did in Washington, D.C. and Chicago. Now you've got a governor and a mayor both coming out and saying that he's a dictator. He's going to take our rights away from us. He's going to completely control everybody. The mayor even came out and said he's just going to start rounding up black people and start putting them in camps. Literally, he said that. And I'm like, you want to believe that he is evil more than you want to help people. You literally have 50 people a weekend, 40 people a weekend getting shot. At least 20% of them are dying. So 8, 9, 10 people a weekend are dying in your city. And you're still not victimizing, but you're still attacking Trump for wanting to come in and help. You should be asking for that help and saying, this is so far out of control. We got so many people dying.
And those citizens deserve protection.
Yeah.
And if their elected officials
to protect them
are not doing their job,
someone else has got to step in and do it. But that just goes to show how much more important narrative is than the truth. How people just buy into that. They buy into that victimization, and how politicians nowadays are feeding that victimization. You're the victim because of Trump. You're the victim because of Christianity. You're the victim because of Israel. And even though you're not a victim because your skin color. You're not a victim because your social economic status. You're not a victim because your gender. You buy into that because the politicians make you feel that way, and because you don't want to pick yourself up and move past those barriers. For some reason, you were taught to believe that those barriers are real and taught to believe that you have those problems. And then you actually do believe that you can't pick yourselves up without that assistance. And if that's not the case, you've got some moral in your background where you feel that Christian values or godlike values are appalling and should be ignored or at worst avoided at all costs because they make you uncomfortable.
Avoid them. Be the best you can be. Do some of them even know if you asked them, what are your values? What are your principles? What do you
Where do you get them from, right?
Yeah.
Where do you get them from? What do you call right and wrong? And where are you getting those values from? And it doesn't matter if you believe in God or not. You got to find those values somewhere, and you got to start standing up for them. And you got to start standing up for those who don't have the ability to stand up for themselves, which is the unborn child, which is those who are maybe in poor communities that want to get up out of their social construct and social situation, but they pick them up is to not get them more dependent. And that's how the left wants to solve the problem. They want you to make you more dependent, not less dependent. So stop looking at dependency on the government as a solution. Stop looking to the government as the solution to the problem.
If
You're
Trump
the
is
solution,
such
they're
a
not.
dictator, why did he turn abortion rights over to the states?
Yeah.
If he wanted to.
Why is he turning education back over to the states?
Or do you not understand that?
Yeah, dictators would bring more control into the federal government, would require that they be more in charge, which is exactly what the left is doing. They want to push for socialism, communism.
Because in a republic, we have sovereign states.
Yeah, and socialism, communism would bring more control into the central government and take more freedom from the people. And if you think the opposite of that, then you've bought into that narrative. You've bought into that lie that government's here to rescue people, that Mom Donnie in New York is going to make these groceries more affordable because they're going to be government-run grocery stores, and he's going to buy up all this land, and he's going to make communal homes, which is socialism. And all of a sudden, you think someone's just going to provide for you. And then that's where they draw you in. That's where you start becoming dependent on the government, constrained and enslaved to the government. And that's what slavery is you're enslaved. That dependency is taking over your life completely, and you don't even know it's taking over your life. But for some reason, you want that. You're begging for it. You're asking for it because you believe in these narratives that get put out there.
Sovereign states, because if that's the way you want to live, great. Then you can choose to live in New York and live in a communist state
and be enslaved to the government.
And if you want to be free, you go live somewhere else. Go to Idaho.
But like what we're showing here, good things or bad things happen to good people. And that's how we started this podcast. I mean, those officers were good people, and
it just
bad things happen.
State so much.
Yeah, bad things happen all the time. And it's not the only one, too, because now you look at other people that should be protecting the innocent that are not.
Crooked judges.
Yeah, you got this judge here that was accused of sex crimes and was actually involved in them, those sex trafficking in Box Elder County up north. Then you had another judge in Salt Lake City, 3rd District, caught doing the same thing. You had a sheriff that was caught doing it.
And their fire chief also that was...
Or the fire chief. It was a fire chief, not the sheriff. Fire chief. So several judges here that were supposed to be protecting the innocent who are actually taking advantage and victimizing children. And like I said before, I have zero remorse for anything that would happen to them. I would put the millstone around them, drown them in the depth of the sea for all I care, because I don't have any tolerance for that. But at the same time, I'm not saying all judges are evil.
Right.
All cops are evil. I'm not becoming victimized to that and asking for, the government now has to recompense everybody because of the acts of a few. I'm not looking for perfection. I'm not saying that they have to be perfect. I know they have the demons and they're going to have their time in court and they're going to pay their prices. that I'm not becoming a victim myself. Family members who are involved over there, the families of these police officers, they don't have a victim mentality after this, that poor us, you guys need to take care of us the rest of our lives. They're just stepping up and taking care of themselves. I know a lot of people who are in this country legally and illegally that are literally doing everything they can to support, sustain themselves without getting on social assistance programs. They're not coming here with that victimization mentality that the United States is the big evil, the big Satan around the world, and you guys need to take care of the rest of the planet, or at least take care of us. Get out of that victimization, get out of that victim mentality, get out of that dependency on somebody else, and start finding strength within yourself that I can do this no matter what happens around other people. I understand that bad things happen to good people, and if it does, then so be it, and I learn from it and I move on.
And that's why I think it's important to have faith in something, whatever religion or faith or kumbaya you got. But I think depression makes it easy for you to want to just give up and let somebody else support you and just sit and do nothing. Whereas when you have an attitude of faith or a belief in something, and you're always wanting to become better, fix your faults and just, repent when you do something wrong and just do better, you come out of that depression and you're wanting to do for yourself. And we have an epidemic and things that want to feed into keeping people down and suppressed and depressed.
Yeah. Again, we turn to religion. We turn to God, right? And not everybody out there turns to religion, turns to God. But you still got to turn to something and find that I can and not I can't. Because the whole I can't attitude is what creates victim mentality, what creates your skin color determines what you can or can't do, or your gender determines what you can or cannot do, or your economic status determines what you can or cannot do. None of those determine what you can or cannot do. You determine what you can or cannot do. There's always a path to becoming better, doing better, and being better. Now, if your economic circumstances are pretty low, it may take you longer than those who have better economic circumstances, but you can still get there. I mean, we discussed this in a couple of podcasts with my own wife. She came over to this country with literally nothing, not a penny, and worked her way up and became a school teacher. And lived here in this country for over 10 years, long before I ever even met her, and she sustained herself the whole time. Went from having not even 2 nickels in her pocket, to having a nice apartment condominium, nice vehicle, driving around, doing whatever she wanted, and going out of the town. I mean, she was living quite nicely, and she picked herself up and did that without, at a single moment during that period of time, turning to food stamps, government support, Section 8 housing. Because even though those are there to help those who need it, and they should be there to help those who need it, becoming dependent on those things, addicted to those things, is more dangerous to you than you might realize, because you can't, you get this attitude where I can't pick myself up beyond these things. And generation after generation,
it certainly doesn't lead to
victim mentality
or self-confidence when somebody else is taking care of you.
So we have these 2 judges that have caused a lot of problems in the state, but now we've also got a representative, Candace Perucci from Harriman, who is trying to strengthen our trafficking laws. And I am completely for this bill. Strengthen it. She's trying to get it to where, I can just read it here. It would bump up first-degree felony of trafficking from 5 years to 10 years if you're 14 years old or older, 14 to 18, and up to 15 years if you're 14 years and younger. So if you're caught trafficking somebody who's 14 years old or younger, you'd have 15 years in prison. And if you're caught trafficking someone who's between 14 and 18, you'd have 10 years in prison. But right now it's just 5. Now, she's getting a fight for it. For some reason, not everybody's wanting to pass it.
Yeah. Why?
Why?
Do you know what their opinion is?
I haven't heard much beyond the articles, or we haven't had a chance of talking to anybody about it.
Like, they're so afraid to be tough on crime.
One of the things I learned growing up as a kid, and particularly in Scouts, was to be prepared. And particularly when it comes to my feet. You do not want to be out in a situation where your feet are incredibly uncomfortable and makes you absolutely miserable, makes the rest of the day absolutely miserable. So you have to go out there in the right equipment, whether that's hiking in the mountains, whether that's fishing on the stream, it's working out in your garden or out in the yard, or it's going out on the town or to the nearest rodeo in a nice pair of boots. You have to go out prepared so you look good, feel good, and most importantly, it is comfortable. Because again, there's nothing like being miserable walking around all day long. We want to introduce you to 3 different companies that are supporting this channel. We have Durango Boots, which provides the best Western wear and boots that money can buy. So you'll have the look, the feel that you want. There's also Rocky Boots for that great mountain wear, that hiking wear, and just getting out into nature and being prepared for what you're confronting. And then there's Mucky Boots or Muck Boots, which will provide the perfect waterproofing that you need for fishing, hunting, and again, getting out in the yard and working in the mud. These are great companies that supply a great pair of boots for you for any need, for any occasion. So again, go to the link in our description or click on the QR code that's coming up on your screen for any of these great sites, whether it's Western wear, whether it's the outdoor wear and getting up into the hills and the mountains, or whether it's muck wear that you need to be able to work around the garden or go fishing or hunting and not walk around with wet feet. These are great products at great prices that will keep you perfectly comfortable all day at the same time that you're looking good. So trust these products, whether it's Durango, whether it's Muck Boots, or whether it's Rocky Mountain Boots or Rocky Boots, and go to those sites using the link in our description or QR code that's popping up on your screen. Again, the link in the description or QR code that's popping up on your screen, and support our channel.
But yet you hear of the countries that are so strict on crime have so little crime.
Yeah, well, they're trying to be fair, right? And
I believe in being fair and equitable.
Well, look at what just happened with Trump. So coming out of Venezuela, it was a boat. It was a cartel boat that was full of drugs, and he just bombs the thing and just kills like 11 traffickers. Now there's several legislators coming out and saying, you're evil, that was dictatorship. You should have just sent the Coast Guard out there and arrested them. They had their right to have a day in court. They should have been convicted.
Well, they're not citizens of here.
They're not citizens of here. They were out in international waters. They weren't even in U.S. waters. They were off the coast of Venezuela.
They're bringing something that's going to harm our citizens, right?
Yeah. But it's the same mentality, right? Even with this human trafficking, people want to be softer on those who are committing crimes. And we have a lot of politicians around these cities now who want to defund police and to say, well, we shouldn't have so many cops out there. We should have more social workers out there. And if there's a domestic dispute or domestic violence or something like that, we should send a social worker out there instead of a police officer. And it's going to foment more crime and not deter crime. Look what happens in Washington, D.C. when you put out the National Guard. Crime rates went way down. The murders went way down. The abductions are going down. The car thefts are going down. All of it's going down because they put more officers out there, not less officers. That's the deterrent. So I don't know where.
And it looks like the majority of the citizens are pretty happy about it.
Yeah. If you actually talk to the citizens, right? Because we did this podcast too about the whole paid protesters out there. They're saying that they're locals and they're not. But if you actually talk to the locals, they all are actually ecstatic about it. And even the local mayor is now agreeing with Trump, and she's heavy Democrat, saying, well, he guess, yes, the crime has gone down. I guess he... But no one else will side with him. But that's what happens when you stop preaching the narrative and you actually accept the truth. And I think too much to her chagrin that the mayor is actually saying, well, I guess crime rate has gone down a little bit. It's gone down a lot, but she's trying to save face. Well, yeah, it's gone down a little bit because her constituents out there are unhappy with her, and she probably wants to run for re-election real quick. So she's starting to agree a little bit with Trump so she can say some face with.
Well, we can always hope and have the best attitude that maybe it's because her eyes are becoming open and she sees improvement and wants better for her constituents.
Yeah. I don't feel sorry for anybody in that boat. I mean, they should have been dealing drugs or trying to traffic drugs. I don't feel sorry for anybody here that are trying to traffic kids. Let them rot in prison for 10, 15 years. I have zero remorse for that. Why would you fight that? I mean, that's the best deterrent out there, is to enforce that to the strictest point possible. That way the next person says, well, I'm probably not going to do that because this is what they did to the last people. And that's the whole point of laws out there is it's not just to punish the individual that's committed the infraction, but it's also to enact as a deterrent for those who think they could do it later. I mean, it is, and people are like, well, that's not fair. You shouldn't impose such a heavy crime on somebody just to be a deterrent for others. I'm like, no, that's exactly what we need to be doing. That's the whole point of these laws, is to be a deterrent. We don't want the crimes committed, and so we have to have those deterrents. So somebody's got to suffer for the crime and be the deterrent. A lot of people are unfair with that. Well, we've got a heavily politicized event that's going on with our Senate Majority Leader here in the state of Utah. So Stuart Adams, who was a neighbor of mine for a number of years, and I really like the guy. He's a really nice guy. So I don't know where this is coming from. Again, I was literally neighbors with him, and as a man himself, he's a great guy, and I don't know what he was thinking when he did this, or if this really influenced his decision here, but in all cases, it does not look good at all. It is incredibly suspicious, and I would believe most people that there's definitely some favoritism there.
When you are in those circles, to become corrupt.
Yeah.
I don't believe every politician's corrupt. I think that temptation's always going to be there when you get power. But I know that he and another political figure are very powerful. Powerful enough that I'm really disappointed that the ranks of the legislature and the Senate have corralled around him, and there's very few who are willing to speak up and just be honest about what.
Call this out.
But, you know, I hear in circles he's very powerful and influential, and they're all afraid of him. Majority very afraid of him. People have lost jobs when they go up against him. He's been very threatening, and I don't respect him as a politician. He is my senator, and I think it's time for a change.
Yeah, a lot of people are agreeing with you as well. I mean, to kind of let everybody know what happened here, I'm just going to read a couple paragraphs here. It says, Utah Senate President Stuart Adams has rejected calls for his resignation, defending his decision not to disclose a personal connection to a law that was passed in 2024 that was inspired by a criminal case involving an 18-year-old relative accused of having sex with a 13-year-old. The new law was carefully tailored to apply the same standard used for 17-year-olds to allow 18-year-old high school students to be charged with less serious crime than child rape if they engaged in non-coercive sexual activity with teenagers under the age of consent, which is in Utah is 14. So I understand what he was doing. So the 18-year-old was still in high school. The 14-year-old.
Okay, I believe that they're being soft on this because if I'm not mistaken, I think the child was actually 12 when it began. I don't know where we get 14 from. We're ranking it.
13. It says 13.
13. This 18-year-old, I think it's not, you can Google out there, so I'm not disclosing anything, but she groomed this boy. Now, if this had been an 18-year-old boy grooming and then raping a girl, would you feel differently?
Yeah.
You know, a child is a child.
Grooming and raping is, the kid needs to be in prison and be tried as an adult and suffer the full consequences of it, even though he's still in high school.
And then aside from that, we have all the focus on the granddaughter. and what happened. This has gone to trial. It already happened. She got off very easy. No more jail time. I think she spent no more than 8 days in jail. That's off, and I think the narrative's getting pushed to concentrate on that. So you take the focus off of, did he use his influence inappropriately
to get the law passed? That's the problem. I understand where they're coming from. If they're 18,
there are facts, and he absolutely did.
Yeah, I understand why he did the law. Because if you're 18 and still in high school, I can see where they don't want to try him as an adult yet.
17-year-old, their boyfriend and girlfriend, and they have sex. That's
different.
And you can dispute those charges in court.
Because they're both still in high school, whether he's 18 or 16, they're both still in high school. He hasn't graduated from high school yet. I get that. This is not the case, though. This was not the case. And it did influence this case, and he was wrong about doing it because there's evidence showing that, like you said,
the evidence hasn't been put out there, but it's there.
But he did it for his family.
Like I say, I don't expect him to be perfect. I don't expect Stuart to be perfect. I expect him to be a man and own up to what he did, take responsibility, and do the right thing.
Now, the problem with this is, and we're going to discuss this again when Jason Preston comes on, is now everybody's associating the Stuart Adams case with the Nelson case. Nelson is saying that just like Stuart Adams influenced this law to affect his family, President Nelson was affecting church standards to affect his daughter. I mean, it's not the same thing. And everybody's going to say, well, it's identical. It's the same thing. And that's where the problem is going to be right now. And we're not going to discuss that whole thing in this podcast.
No, and that's really disappointing to me.
Yeah, it's disappointing. And we're not going into that one. We're going to save that for when Jason's on the podcast, go really into depth into that and voice our opinions there. I'm just saying that that's what the discussion is right now, is that people are putting those two together. And it's sad to see that, and we'll discuss it when Jason comes on and see what his opinion is. We'll kind of know what his opinion is because he's put it out on his podcast, and we'll divulge ours and go back and forth on it. But it should be a fun podcast when it comes on.
Yeah, but in this case, doing that, and then now where it's coming in the media and we're trying to like soft talk it and say that's in the past and we didn't do that, and absolutely, but yet we're behind the scenes threatening people from speaking to the media.
Yeah, and they're saying, problem is they're saying the same thing about Nelson. He's threatening bishops and state presidents to not say anything, not turn anybody in, and we'll show that that's not true, but it's going to be a fun, interesting conversation, to say the least, on that one. But
yeah, and we've reached out to Stuart over the past months.
I've reached out to
have him come on the podcast.
I've reached out to him dozens of times.
But I didn't realize this was happening in the background at the time. But
and we're a friendly environment. I mean, I've been neighbors with him for a long time, so it's not like we're going to be vultures surrounding around him. So he can come on. Stuart, if you're listening, you come on. We'll have an honest conversation. We're not going to be attacking or anything like that. Let's put it out in the open and see what happens. So tough situation, but nothing better than just to get it out public, so it's out in the open. Kind of the last thing we're going to talk about today, and again, we're going to go through all these again when Jason's on the podcast. So look forward to that. All these same topics. Again, this is just a prelude, but this is a conversation that happened between Donald Trump and Dr. Phil. And this was months before the election. So this is pre-election, but it's pertinent now because they're addressing the problem now. So we're going to watch this clip a little quick, and then we'll discuss it now. Again, we'll discuss during Jason's Preston's conference too, or podcast.
And look at this map that I did a show about this. The red is where Chinese government has funded buying major farmland.
yeah,
And then superimposed on that are some of our most strategic military bases. And you can see there's Dugway Proving Ground. That's military equipment, biological, chemical weapons. They're surrounding it. Utah Test Training Range, the largest supersonic authorized restricted airspace in the United States. Whiteman Air Force Base, B-2 Spirit Stealth Bomber Base, missile drone operations. MQ-9 Reaper, Global Strike Command 3, Air Force, entire Bomber Force Nuclear Command, Control, and Communications, Fort Liberty, Airborne Special Operations Forces, Rapid Deployment. We've allowed them to come in and buy up agricultural land, wind farms, no wind, no blades on some of the towers, but they're surrounding our military bases. Right. We've allowed that to take place. You may come in and inherit all of this, and it may get worse over the next 5 months.
It will.
What are you going to do about that?
Well, he did do something about it. So 2 things we want to discuss here. She'll discuss one, I'll discuss the other. So Trump is making it illegal or trying to make it against the law for Chinese to come in and buy properties, anything around any type of military bases. And he's trying to enforce that and force China to sell off their property so that isn't a problem. So he is actively working against that so that doesn't happen. And then Utah already did that, and you're familiar with that.
Well, we did force the sale. I think they gave them a time limit, and there's been a law passed where they need to sell. It's just, who is it being sold to is what I'd like.
Yeah, we'd like to know.
Is our Utah lands. So
there was a law passed here in Utah where China can't own any land here in the state of Utah. So that law has been passed. So China has to sell.
No foreign entity.
No foreign entity can
you would
own.
Think that'd be a given.
Own any land. Yeah. So they have to sell. But so Dr. Phil's right. They did own a considerable amount of land around Douglas Proving Grounds against our firing range.
Pork farms, pig farms.
And there's nothing out there. It's just sagebrush. They bought the land to be close to these strategic places. So the state of Utah is forcing them to sell. It is being sold, but we don't know any information about who the buyer is or the association between China and the buyers. Or
we'll do some research and digging into that.
Yeah, because we definitely don't want a communist country owning any land around our military bases. I mean, we already saw what happened with the balloons that Trump let, or not Trump, but that Biden let float across our country, across these bases, and shot them down after they had already crossed the bases and taken all the pictures they needed to take.
That's not still happening, is it?
No, not anymore. No, only a few balloons happened during the Biden administration, but Trump won't let that happen at all. So he's much more forceful, but he's actually actively doing something about China owning these lands and forcing them to sell off as well. But as we all know with businesses, you can have a lot of shell corporations from different parts of the country and still own the shell corporation, still have control of it. So I don't know if they got people researching that.
Bad actors within our own government. I'd like to know where that's going.
Yeah, even if the company's buying this land out that China owns out here in the West Desert here in Utah, is there a way that China's circumventing the law so they can still have control of that? And is there somebody actually researching that out and finding that out? Who knows?
For years when I was raising my kids, we'd go down to the state parade that's held on the 24th of July every year. And there's always a little trolley at the end of the parade with dignitaries and visitors from China, because that's our sister country. I think, is it Taiwan? I don't know.
Yeah, Taiwan is Hong Kong.
I don't know. But I wonder if there's, I think I feel better about it if it's Taiwan or Hong Kong. But I'm not sure. And so I'm wondering, does everybody have a sister city?
Yeah, but even then, China has a lot of control in Taiwan, too, and they have a lot of businesses that they own.
So they come in, get to be in the parade, and then they buy land?
Something.
Is there a connection there? Well, something to look into.
Anyway, so that's our podcast for today. Again, we're going to cover all these subjects again when Jason comes on, so we're really looking forward to that. And I think we're going to have a great conversation with him. He sounds like he's a great guy. Really, I like his attitude when it comes to kids, because I have the same attitude. I want everybody that's harming kids, trafficking kids, molesting kids, I want them to burn. So I have the same mentality. But I also have it from a perspective where I don't believe in guilt by association. I think there's got to be some solid evidence. And a lot of the people you had on this podcast, I think, are just anti-Nelson, period. And there's trying to create an image that I don't necessarily think is true. I've listened to the whole podcast. And
Maybe some confirmation bias going on there.
my confirmation bias going on there, but again, Jason and I agree to disagree on a few things. Fine, but I think he's going to be a great guy.
Information that would be helpful to us before that podcast.
Yeah,
Comment below.
I'm open to anything that's truthful. I mean, if it's true, then it's true. If it isn't, it isn't. I mean, that's my perspective. Again, the whole point of this conversation was to kind of point out to everybody this: stop looking at narratives. Just look for the truth, right? It doesn't matter what it is or where it's coming from. If it's true, it's true. And don't believe the narratives. Don't believe a point of view just because someone else is preaching it so much and doing it in a soft, cordial way that it looks convincing, because that's how people lose their freedom and lose control. Stop trying to make good evil and evil good, essentially. I mean, because the stuff that we're getting on Israel is, and against Israel and against Jews, the anti-Semitism that's in our own comments section is massive. The stuff we're seeing around the world about being anti-Christian is massive. The anti-Trump. You can not like conservatism, you can be a liberal, but still recognize a lot of stuff he's doing is good. I mean, if Bill Clinton did stuff that was right, I'd say, okay, that was good. I support that move. I wouldn't be against everything, but it doesn't matter what Trump does, they're against it 100%. Even stuff that they supported themselves 2 years ago.
When Bill Clinton said it.
Or that Hillary said, or Bill said it, or even Biden said it when he was in Congress about illegals. Just because Trump's doing it.
Fine.
Yeah, just because Trump's doing it, now it's bad. So it's not right to be against something just because somebody you don't like is the one doing it. You got to find truth in everything.
But I'll give it to them. If you're active politically and watching, well, good for you. You're being a participant as a citizen, even if we don't agree with each other's viewpoint. But don't just sit back.
Anyway, we'll see everybody on the next podcast. Again, please listen to our full podcast, even if you have to do it 20, 30 minutes at a time. Use our chapters if that helps you at all. Subscribe, like, hype it with that new feature that YouTube has on there, and then share it so that we can get past the whole YouTube impression suppression problem that we have on this podcast, and make us bigger, help us become bigger. Don't get stuck in the narrative. Try to find truth wherever it's at, and try not to get stuck so much on a specific set of beliefs or a narrative that the media is putting out there so much that's the only thing you're willing to listen to.
And don't be afraid to speak truth.
Yeah, don't be afraid of what it is. Speak truth in our own comments section. Help fight back some of those comments that we get in there about anti-Semitism and other things. But again, ICE coming up, Mike Lee coming up. We'll have Megan Strader coming up here again for round 2. We are going to have a suicide week coming up too. So we're going to have a couple of angel moms with kids that have committed suicide. We'll discuss the trauma that's behind suicide, so look forward to that. And we will see you guys in the coming weeks.
I can't see!